Like if you just uncovered that one genius method, you'd suddenly be able to write songs that gain millions of streams, have fans singing your lyrics back to you, and finally live the life you've always dreamed of. Well, you're not alone. I used to think exactly the same thing, but over the past 10 years, working with some of the industry's greatest songwriters and producers, I've learned something important. Yes, there is a secret method. But actually, in fact, there are many methods, and each top songwriter has their own way of consistently tapping into their creative flow and writing songs that only they can create. The good news though, finding your own secret method isn't about waiting for inspiration. It's about trying different things, different approaches until you find one that clicks. And for me, from all of the methods that I've come across, there's one that stands out for its uniqueness and simplicity. The method of Pooh Bear.
Pooh Bear's gonna get back in the lab again this week. Cut over to Pooh Bear.
Throw it up.
Pooh Bear is Justin's main collaborator in terms of writing. Who knows Justin so well?
It's freakishly talented. You're freakishly
Thanks,
talented.
man. Thank you. I don't know. I'm waiting to run out of, words and the melodies and stuff.
One of the biggest hurdles for artists is staring at a blank page, waiting for inspiration that might never come. We've all been there, feeling stuck, overthinking every word or second-guessing every melody. The truth is, whilst some songs may come from sudden bursts of inspiration, a lot don't. And if you want to take control of your career as an artist, you can't rely on inspiration alone. That's where having a system comes in. Pooh Bear's method is all about removing the pressure and creating a natural flow that makes songwriting feel like less of a struggle and more like a conversation with yourself. So what is the Pooh Bear method? Well, let me take you back to when I first worked with him. This was about 7 or 8 years ago, and I had no idea at the time who he was or the extent of his incredible catalogue of hits. I was thrown in at the deep end, engineering a session in a studio that I'd never worked before, on a mixing console that I'd never touched. It was daunting to say the least. But as we got set up, I immediately noticed that Pooh Bear's approach to songwriting was unlike anything I had ever seen before. He was all about creating a vibe in the studio. He told me, keep the speakers on, give me the microphone, and let me write a song. But then Skrillex walks in. And when one of the best producers in the world walks into a studio, first off, that's a crazy moment. But secondly, you kind of expect them to bring the most insane beat that you've ever heard in your life. But what actually happened was he just gave us a 4-bar instrumental loop for Pooh Bear to write to. The whole song would be constructed around this one instrumental loop. Pooh Bear could draw out all of the inspiration from that single idea. Everything was streamlined. And from there, that's when the magic happened. The idea was to make sure that everything we heard in the control room was as close to the final product as possible. Because here's the key. Pooh Bear doesn't write with a pen and paper. He doesn't even start with a set melody or lyric. Instead, he allows a concept and a vibe to flow naturally. He might say something like, a bridge. There's a bridge between us. And from that one phrase, the entire song starts to form in his mind. And this leads to his signature punch-in method. Rather than writing parts of the song beforehand or improvising melodies to map out the full song and then filling in the lyrics later, he builds the song line by line, ad-libbing until he finds the perfect lyric and melody combination for each phrase. He then moves on to the next line, and within 1 or 2 hours, the entire song is complete. What's interesting is I'd seen this method before. It was popularized by Jay-Z, and many of today's rappers stealing this technique and freestyling on the mic. But this was the first time I'd ever witnessed it within the pop or R&B space. It's an incredibly fluid and subconscious process where he's able to tap into his instinct and vibe without overthinking. Every part is intentional, from how the lyrics are delivered to how the vocals never overlap.
Hey. Yeah.
Can't nobody, want nobody. Can't. Need you permanent. Or is it, no, you'll be permanent in my life, right?
Yeah.
Let me get that. You'll be permanent in my life.
Permanent.
Always.
Ain't nobody ever gonna take.
Yeah, okay. Ain't nobody ever gonna take your place. What'd you say? Take which one up?
Gone. Just gone.
Ain't nobody ever gonna take.
Yeah, instead of gonna.
No, that's way cooler. Gone, cause it's gone's country.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody ever gonna take
your place, your place.
Let's get that.
So how can you apply this method directly to your own music? First, let go of the pressure to write a perfect song in one go. Instead of trying to map out the entire track before you even start, focus on creating a vibe and building your song one phrase at a time. Use whatever effects that will go to make you feel comfortable when you're performing, whether that be auto-tune, reverbs, or compression. And whether you're singing in front of speakers or isolating yourself with headphones, create the environment that feels right for you. And the punch-in method is all about building your song line by line, allowing the music to flow naturally without overthinking. Here's how it works. You start off by recording the first line of the song. It doesn't have to be perfect on the first take. Experiment with different melodies, with different lyrics or inflections, until you find something that feels right.
Can't nobody, want nobody. Can't. Need your purpose.
Once you're happy with the first line, play it back, hit record, and come up with ideas for the second line. The key here is to vibe off the first line as you create the second line. You keep experimenting until the second line feels like a natural extension of the first, fitting perfectly in tone, mood, and melody. If you're satisfied with the performance, stop recording, line it up just after the first line, and move on to the third line. And remember, nothing is ever set in stone. If you're not quite satisfied with any line, you can always go back and tweak it. Change the tone, adjust the melodic inflection, refine the performance, or even switch out a word. Everything is in constant movement, and you're not going to commit anything until it feels right. This method allows you to stay in a creative flow state, letting your subconscious guide you rather than forcing an idea to fit a predetermined structure. It's a process of discovery where each line influences the next and the song builds itself in a way that feels organic and true to your initial vibe. This way, you're not overthinking the entire song, you're allowing the music to come to you naturally. It's less about chasing inspiration and more about creating an environment where inspiration can find you. And finally, remember that it doesn't have to be a solo process. Collaborate and vibe with others and be open to trying new things. As you've seen with Justin Bieber and Pooh Bear, working on each phrase together creates a synergy that elevates the entire song. So give it a try and turn off your inner critic. Set up your space and punch in your way to your next great song. You might just find that this method unlocks a whole new level of creativity and consistency in your writing. And when you feel like you've written the perfect song, it's time to release it and get it heard. But so many artists struggle to get their music heard, no matter how great it is. Mainly because it's not just about the music these days. It's about how you get noticed. So if you want to learn how to get your songs the attention that they deserve, check out this video next, where I'll show you exactly how successful artists build brands that make them stand out and why most artists get lost in the noise.